What's up, everyone? I'm not doing a comic news video, so this is a rare occasion for all of you. And I, of course, brought Dan with me because he's Dan, damn it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan.
We know already. And it's been a while, but we're going to talk about Oz the Great and Powerful, a movie that I was aware of happening and ended up seeing it because I had nothing better to do and I happen to have money.
Yeah, I was sort of indifferent to it in that. I mean, I was sort of excited to see it because I like the original film quite a bit. I used to watch that film a lot as a kid, and as a kid, it was one of my favorite movies. And Raimi was doing it, so I was like, I like some of it. I like his first two Spider-Man movies. The first one having its flaws, but I enjoy it. So I was sort of optimistic about it, but it wasn't a movie I was like, must see now or anything.
I will kill anyone who stops me from seeing this.
Yeah, like I'm not an Oz fanboy or girl or anything.
Yeah, same here. And like when I saw the first trailer for it somewhere, the first thing that came to mind was this eerily looks like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland for some reason.
Yeah, they definitely tried to market it to that crowd, I think.
And it's produced and it's made by Disney, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
But then I realized, I've most movies I've seen by Sam Raimi I like. I like the first two Spider-Man. I like the Evil Dead films. I like Darkman. Mind you, I didn't go in thinking, the guy who made Darkman made this.
It's funny to think about, isn't it, that the guy who made Darkman, Drag Me to Hell, Army of Darkness is making a Wizard of Oz movie?
Actually, Army of Darkness in terms of fantasy, a fantasy adventure type deal. Army of Darkness is much more than that than a horror movie.
Oh yeah, true.
Well, okay, fine. It's more of a goofball comedy than any of those two, but it's one of the best movies ever. But yeah. So I was like, I like Franco, and he gets to wear a top hat. That's a plus.
Yeah, exactly. I was excited to see Franco and Raimi working together again because I liked his performance as Harry Osborn in the Spider-Man films. I thought he got it spot on, and that probably had a lot to do with Raimi's directing. So I was excited to see that relationship be in a leading role capacity this time instead of a supporting character.
Plus, I've always been fascinated with James Franco since he did that weird stint on a soap opera.
Yeah.
I think it was like General Hospital or something. The thing I love is because when you go to his not to his Wikipedia, but to his IMDb page, and it lists, the four things he's known for, that's there, and the best part, it's just a photo of him that they use for, the profile photo. I don't know who has a call on that, but it's just a picture of him from the show.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and so, I when I went to see this, I was just hoping. I'm hoping to be entertained, and that's what I was when I got out of the theater. I walked out saying I watched Oz the okay and watchable.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. I mean, I was thoroughly entertained in that, I really was invested in Oz's character. I thought his character arc worked pretty well, but other than that, a lot of the other peripheral characters and the supporting cast, I think, was where a little bit more focus would have been good. Because, in the original Wizard of Oz film, Dorothy's not the only thing people talk about. They talk about the Scarecrow, the Lion, the Tin Man, obviously, because they have their own character things to do in that film, and we have the flying monkey, and a bunch of other characters that join Oz on his journey. The little China girl, but they don't really get as much to do, or at least their stories aren't as interesting to me. And I think part of the problem might be that the old film kind of gets to get away with some of the archetype stuff that it does just because it's a film of that time, whereas this is a modern film. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't know. I think the biggest ball that was dropped here was with the the Wicked Witch. I that was probably my least favorite part of the entire movie.
Okay. I have an entertaining kind of quote about that.
Yeah.
Now, the whole Wicked Witch thing, the one played by Mila Kunis, for those, since there's 3 witches in this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went in completely blind in this and was kind of surprised that, Mila Kunis ended up, because I don't know them by name, that she ended up being the I'll get you, my pretty, that witch.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that was like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming, probably because I know jack about the freaking source material or the movie.
Yeah.
But, now, her whole reason, because when we first meet her, she has a bit of a temper, but she's a good witch. They make her look as pretty as possible. And, her reason for becoming, I'll get you, my pretty, when you think about it, is absolutely ridiculous and stupid.
Yeah.
But I let it go because we're in a fairy tale world. And also, it's been made apparent that her sister was screwing with her head prior to her eating that apple, which when I saw that, I said, wrong franchise. And she became the mask. I mean, the Wicked Witch.
Yeah. See, I sort of was suspicious of her being the witch from the first scene she showed up, because the hat she was wearing looks exactly like the witch's hat, except that it's not pointy and it's red.
Yeah, I should have caught on that too, but I was like, it's so pretty to look at, Mr. Movie.
Yeah, and you weren't expecting that to be your introduction to the Wicked Witch. I was sort of waiting for her to show up the whole film until that happened too. The other thing that really set me off was the fireball thing. When she throws the fireball, I was like, oh, well,
Yeah, I'm like, so either I kind of assumed, maybe not full on, she was going to be the Wicked Witch, but I'm like, oh, she's either going to be turned evil until the end. Well, not till the end, because I at least remember the part where there are 2 wicked witches.
Yeah, exactly. The problem that I sort of had with her in the film, I don't know if you had the same sort of thing where, like, I bought that she would have interest in this guy because he's, a stranger from a different world. He represents...
And the prophesized chosen one. And...
Yeah, and he represents everything that she's not able to experience because of, her sister suppressing her and all of those sort of things. But I don't buy that she's so deeply enamored with him as she is. Like, I don't think they spend nearly enough time together where, like, if he, like, doesn't marry her, she would, like, flip the hell out, because, like, even before she eats that evil magic apple, she gets to the point where she's like, my heart has been
I'm acting.
I will never heal again, and I will never love another man. And I was like, that's kind of
extreme and stupid.
Yeah, see, it had the same sort of problems that plagued the relationship stuff with the Raimi Spider-Man films, where they just tried to oversimplify it a little, I think.
But the thing
when
is...
When did the Foster Home Imaginary Friends end?
Like 5 years ago. Go away now.
So, would it have been when I was in 3rd grade? Or...
Probably.
Okay.
Bye now. That was a pointless thing, and I'm not editing that out. So, my sister had a question about Foster's Home. Anyway, again, totally. I only really do forgive it, and this is just me probably imbuing this more of the movie, is that she's obviously had her head screwed with by the other evil sister. Who from the start go, how could you not assume she's evil?
Yeah, like the way the sister was dressed when they act like that's sort of a revelation too when we find out she's evil.
And you're just like, no. Yeah.
Like even the way she's dressed, she's got the black and green on, and I'm thinking like Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Like that's
totally. She totally had that aesthetic to her.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of thinking, and I was like, Which one of these people is gonna end up being the Wicked Witch? Which one's the one at the beginning with the goofy socks that gets the house dropped on them at the beginning?
That's what really occurred to me once I realized who was who. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you escape. Because I'm a sadistic bastard.
Yeah.
But okay, one other thing.
Sure.
Now, when she eats the apple and she has her hideous transformation
Into Mila Kunis, who's still hot, but, is just green.
Precisely. I asked a few guys, I even asked a few girls outside the movie, like, I have an honest question for you, because I wanted to kind of put together, because I said I'm going to do a review thing for the internet. Do you think she looked ugly? All of them said, no, she looks hot. I don't get that part.
Yeah, she had, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, she had, like, a cleavage.
Yeah, all that's wrong about her is she has a nose like a mole, and maybe the fact that she's green, but you're talking to nerds. Green women, man. Green women.
Very true. Yeah, I just didn't think Mila Kunis was... I mean, she's a fine actress. I like her in other roles.
I don't think she really got around the whole "I'm evil" thing.
Yeah, in the thing with her voice, like, I think she got the cackle in the voice. I mean, I've heard that people say that maybe the cackle is the one from the original film and they just reused it.
Or someone who just dubbed it in for her.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but if she was doing it, she did it well. I don't know, there was just something about her where maybe this is because she's Meg from Family Guy.
Maybe it's because you can see the chew marks on the scenery.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I just didn't buy her as she didn't have a presence as the Wicked Witch, you know what I mean? Like, when she shows up...
She was fine as, what she was before. She's like, hi, I'm whoever my name is, and I've been waiting for you, Mr. Wizard, and, even when she, like, had that banter with the other witch, and she threw a fireball at her, I'm like, okay, she's in the realm of not ham so far. The moment after we see her all greenified, she just ate that ham, man.
Yeah, and that scene from the original Wizard of Oz that they didn't redo it, they sort of homaged here. Mm-hmm. Where she shows up in the middle of the Munchkin Square in the fire and everything, and like in the original film, it's like this is a big deal, and like when the witch comes out, she's like, for the time, even if like you can't look at it through a historical lens, you have to admit like that's a pretty intense scene when she shows up. This film I didn't get that vibe from it at all, just because of the performance. Mm-hmm. Not that Mila Kunis wasn't doing the best to her ability. I just think she was miscast.
She just couldn't pull off... To be fair, that role does require you to be able to just use ham well, and there are actors who can do ham well. Mm-hmm. To an extent. Like, William Shatner's an actor of that example.
Oh, yes.
I'm not saying I want him to play the witch. I'm just saying he'd be great. Like, he's great at pulling the ham out. And Mila Kunis, I mean, I've seen her in things. I've seen her in things where she's good. But I'm with you. I always think of her as that bitchy girl from that 70s show, or Meg from Family Guy.
Yeah, it was just a problem all around, I think, with that character. That was the one I think they dropped the ball with. The other witch, the sister, I thought she was fantastic.
Oh, she was... I liked both of... The other two witches in this, I thought were pretty good for what they had to do. Rachel Wise, the Rachel Wise witch, I'm addressing them by their actress names. She had menace and, obviously, we said from the moment she showed up, I said evil, but she had a presence to her. She got in the role pretty well in my mind.
I agree.
Which I think you have to give this character presence, because, like I said, her only scene is her feet being curled up into a house in the original film.
That's a very good point, because in the original film, when she gets killed by the house, the Munchkins are celebrating like this is, this big important villain had been killed, and they really do sell that to you in this film, that she's this, really evil lady. I'm kind of more satisfied that she gets killed in the original film than if you're going to look at these as sequel,
especially Because, like we said, Mila Kunis does not look ugly at all. She probably got someone really excited the moment she appeared green on screen. After, because Rachel Weisz has like this little amulet that she does kind of look at and focus on a lot throughout the movie, at least according to my memory. So you're kind of wondering, why is that important? And then when they crush it, she becomes that weird, scary witch thing from Army of Darkness. That looked ugly. That looked great.
Yeah, that was one of the surprises in the film that I really liked and struck a chord with me, because I thought it was sort of weird that all the witches in this film look so modern and different than the Wicked Witch, and then you just have the Wicked Witch who just looks like a traditional, witch on a broomstick.
Which they kind of, seeded with Oz describing what a witch looked like.
Yeah, that's true. I was glad that the evil witch looked a little bit more similar to that, just for sake of consistency, because we know in the original film, she's, as we said, she's got the goofy witch socks on.
That's a requirement, Dad. You should know this.
Yeah. So I thought that was fine. And we haven't really talked about James Franco's character too much yet.
We focused on her are the evil witches. Yeah.
James, I like Franco's performance in this movie quite a bit.
I completely bought it. He was, because his character is, and it's said in the most cheesiest way, I don't want to be a good man, I want to be a great man. And to be fair, he does kind of deliver that in a cheesy way, but we're also we're in a film kind of world, and also we're in a time period where maybe that was acceptable to say it that way.
Yeah, it felt to me with lines like that, the little cheesiness that we had, and like the Raimi Spider-Man films have that little bit of cheesiness to them too, because they're based on something that was created in the '60s and written by Stan Lee. So it's a little. Yeah,
Raimi's always kind of had a cheese to him that usually works.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it worked well for this because obviously, you're going back into a different time period, like you had stated, and I think that's him sort of homaging the style of the dialogue that people had been saying in the original film and how they delivered the lines and stuff, which was cool. Speaking of him homaging the original film, I absolutely loved at the beginning how we were in standard aspect ratio and black.
Oh, I know. I actually knew some people who were sitting around me who got sick of that.
Really?
They were like, is our projector broken? What's going on? And I'm like, I had to explain to the guy behind. He asked me, dude, do you know what's going on? I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be like that. Haven't you ever seen the trailer? And I appreciated that. And then it's not like all of a sudden it just zooms out, like it slowly goes away once he's in Oz. Mm-hmm. And it cranks up, the tension of, look at this big world. It's, you're getting more and more of it. I think it worked very well in that transition.
I agree. That was the homage that I enjoyed the most of the original film, because the homaging is all over the place in here. There were some little ones that I didn't like, especially the one where they're walking on the yellow brick road in the forest and he scares off a lion, and it's like, oh, look, he made a lion afraid. Ooh.
To be fair, it's not like the characters themselves were like, oh, here was such a cowardly lion, but it was those animators made sure that you knew he was really afraid.
And it's so prequel, that we need to connect every single aspect of the original film to this. Why did Oz have to be the one that scared the lion? Why couldn't he just be a cowardly person?
I don't. No, now I'm just thinking randomly the show scenes from X-Men First Class during Cerebro.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have them building the scarecrows, which I suppose is fine, but the lion one especially was the one where I was like, yeah, did we really need that? It's not a huge problem. It's a nitpick, but
yeah, it's it preoccupies a total of a minute of screen time, and it does get to introduce one of the other side characters, right, who I liked. I didn't know Zach Braff was in this at all. I liked him in this movie.
I thought he was great. Yeah,
he's not the kind of guy you associate with a big Disney motion picture.
No, definitely not. And I thought he was. A lot of people, reviewers I saw, said that they didn't really care for the humor that he was having. But I genuinely laughed at most of the jokes that he was delivering. I thought he was charming and really funny, actually.
And again, like I know this just because I saw an interview he did. He's there when they're filming stuff. It's not like they had him in a recording booth and say things. Like he put on a goofy motion capture suit and was there with Franco. So
That's awesome.
which works because you can definitely get the because I thought those two worked off great with each other. Even before he went to Oz, because being Oz, it took as opposed to being a dream. It just so happens so many things reflect what his life is like, and I think to an extent, it's a little kind of obvious that you would do that, but also you did address a lot of his issues mentally in some cases, where
Yeah, I really
because
like that.
though they were very very on the nose about it, he treated Zach Braff like a monkey in the
Yeah, he did.
on Earth, and when he met the Good Witch, the actual Good Witch, he looked at because he obviously recognized her and all that, and always seemed to listen to her and not at least try and condescend Zach Braff and all the other characters.
Yeah, I thought that Franco did a good job of, like, you had mentioned how he was like treating people poorly and he was sort of
Because he's not
womanizing.
a 100% nice guy in the beginning of the movie.
No, and I liked that because Franco, I think, nailed it in that if someone else had played that character, I think he would have the potential to be unlikable. And the same thing in the original film, where like Dorothy goes to see this guy, and like he's good natured and he's kind of interesting, but he you can tell he's a scam artist. You know what I mean? Like he's
Exactly.
he's not the shining beacon of hope and moral values and thing. Like he's kind of an underground seedy guy, and Franco sold it in such a way where he was extremely likable throughout the whole movie, even though he was treating people like dirt for a lot of it.
Yeah, the moment he meets the monkey and he's like, I give you a life debt. Huh, carry my bag. He doesn't even hesitate.
Yeah, the way Franco played it off was really great, and then when you see him finally, have complete the character arc that he has, where he's kind of a good guy by the end, but he's still got that scam artist stuff going on a little bit, obviously, because you need him to be in that place for the original movie. I thought it was great. Franco's performance, I think, definitely makes it ups the material. I think he was a good choice for this. If anyone else had done it, I don't know that I would have been as invested in the film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys who can make a character with, who can you again, like we keep saying, make him likable. He has a good number of. He's definitely not a person that is kind to the ladies.
No, definitely.
Especially because he has an infinite number of those music boxes.
Yeah. Franco plays arrogant characters really well.
Mm-hmm.
He just has a charisma about him that I really like. Some people accuse him of just playing the same character in everything he's in, but I don't know.
I didn't think Harry Osborn was on screen one bit when I was watching this.
Yeah, me either.
I definitely didn't think his character from Pineapple Express was in this movie.
That would have been hilarious. But...
Dude, look. I made a cross. I need a cross joint. Oh god, that character would fit in way too well in that world.
That's what I was thinking too.
But yeah, and I'm trying to think like if there's, because all the side characters are at least memorable in terms of like, oh look, there's the China doll, and she's played by the girl in the beginning who was convinced because being a great man of magic that he'll make her walk, and they symbolize that by gluing her legs back to her body after they were shattered off her. And
yeah,
I don't know if Nuck, that Munchkin who kept beating people, was at all on Earth, or Bill Cobb's character. I liked him just because he beat up He kept smacking Bruce Campbell in the head.
Yeah.
Did you notice that was him? Because I know some
No, I
people who
didn't.
couldn't tell. Yeah, that guard he kept beating up when they got to the gate, that's Bruce Campbell.
That's awesome.
Which I could tell instantly because you can never mistake that chin.
No, never. I'm surprised I didn't pick up on it. Damn.
Yeah, I know. Because I knew he was going to be in it, and, I saw... Because his name's in the credits, like the front credits in the opening, so it...
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, like it's, like the last couple there, but it's there, so it's not like it's a tiny little secret cameo they made you look out for. Probably because he's on a big TV show now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because he's on Burn Notice. Like, I can't remember if he was ever... I don't think he was ever credited up front in any of the Spider-Man films. I don't think he was at all.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Yeah. So, that's not at all important, but it was entertaining. And I liked how they kind of pulled off the giant Oz floating head of smoke. I thought that looked great. And Franco had a ball.
Oh, yeah. I thought that entire plan at the end that they had with the Scarecrow army and stuff was all really clever and interesting. I thought all of that stuff worked really well within, of course, the confines of this world. Like, an army of Scarecrows wouldn't, trick anybody in, our world. But
they were smart enough to use Gilda's power to create an infinite cloud of mist and tried to trick them for a while. And I even love how he uses his reputation against everybody and made himself because in a very, very, well, not completely, but in a way, like Oscar, whatever his last name was, because his name's Oscar,
yeah.
He basically does kind of die. I mean, he dies in the real world, dies.
Yeah.
I don't know if, especially that guy who wanted to kill him at the beginning. I'm sure. Obviously, the girl who went off to get married at the beginning obviously missed him and all that. But so he basically is dead, and a new character had to, a new man was born from the ashes. I guess we'll use that term. I'm mixing so many fairy tales today.
He's a phoenix.
He's a phoenix.
He is life and death incarnate, now and forever.
Yeah, because he had to make that point. No one could know that I'm really alive. They have to only know that the wizard's around, and you knew how it was going to end. You knew these characters were going to live and all that, but you don't care. You had fun.
Yeah, and I feel like Raimi made a case for this story being told, because you had a good character arc for pretty much all the characters. Like even if I didn't think the side characters were as memorable as the ones from the
they helped his story.
They did. And the original characters did help out endorse these stories well.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think there was as much. I just didn't think their arcs were as strong as those characters. Like
it was definitely, we are focusing on this guy mostly. I mean, we'll give something to these people, and I think that's what you probably should do, because most people only know him and the witches, and that's it.
Right. So. I don't know. I think Raimi made a case for that story being told, and I know Disney said they're planning a sequel, but Raimi said he's not interested. So it'll be interesting.
I don't know what you can do with this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go with it, because
without it seeming generic and kind of easy to write, like, oh no, she's coming to take over the kingdom again. Wonder what they'll do.
I'm with you. I can't really see what story you'd tell, because you have Oz at the point that you need him to be at it for the original film to work.
Yeah, I mean, like the idea works because you are curious. Oh cow! We'll be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, and we're back, and we left off from us not really thinking a sequel from this could really work. I just don't know.
Yeah, I know Disney wants to make it into a franchise and all that sort of thing.
And this is a world that, which we haven't really talked about how it looks too much, but this is a world that's ripe to do something with. I mean, there's tons of books, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I think the visual spectacle of the film is one of the reasons to go to. I mean, it's tough with movies like this because part of the original film's popularity and reverence and all that sort of thing, how revolutionary was it for the time, was how convincing a world it made and how colorful it was and how different it was from anything we'd ever seen on film before. But with movies like this, it's tough, especially in the modern age where you can literally do everything and audiences are used to seeing things that are bigger scale than what we're getting here.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to walk that fine line between looking like set designs from the when did the original film came out in like the 30s?
I believe so.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, 1939.
Okay. So around, late 30s, early 40s, they had to use, obviously, all physical sets and all that sort of thing. You have to make a world that looks like that, but you have to, at the same time, sort of make it look updated for modern audiences, obviously. And I think they did a good job with that. I think the film visually is one of the reasons to go. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It like, the way that the original movie worked, it's definitely a perfect example of how you made a movie back then. And this is a basic example of how we make movies now.
Yeah, it's not anything breakout or special just because we're...
It's just using the tool. That's the thing about Sam Raimi, at least I noticed in a few things. He's good at using tools and making a good movie. He's not all about, making a revolutionary movie. He's just making a good movie.
Yeah, and in terms of all the camera work and the cinematography and stuff, I thought it all looked pretty good. I'm not, granted, I'm not an expert on all that sort of stuff, but Raimi's generally a really good, he has a good visual sense for what he wants to show us and things, and all that worked pretty well for me.
Like my limited, knowledge of the Oz world and all of its few interpretations I've seen it in, this feels like, this feels what I think Oz could look like if, you gave it to someone and told them, try and make something that feels like that world from those books, but, try and put, something into it and make it, because obviously you can't just make this look 100% like the original movie, because I think that's copyright infringement. But you definitely want to get the cues of a few things. Like we said, the Cowardly Lion thing did not need to be there, but it was okay. Like, it wasn't as painful. And this movie doesn't do anything unbelievably stupid like the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, no. And
Duck doesn't break dance at the end.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Which, to be fair, because that actor tends to do all those awful parody spoof movies, he might do that in the next one those idiots make. So, as the same character.
Yeah, I think Raimi brought the same sort of reverence for the source material in making the world feel like what the original film felt like. Like what he did with Spider-Man. I think he nailed the look and the feel of the John Romita Sr., especially, Spider-Man world in his films. And I think he did the same thing here. I think if you're an Oz fan, a huge fan of the original film, the books, and all that stuff, you'll feel right at home going to see this movie.
Maybe, because I've seen some Oz fans who shake their fists at the whole, grrr, the Wicked Witch is just a pissed off woman who got really angry at a man she known for a day. Grrr.
Right.
Because that's not something people have taken lightly.
Right. In terms of character stuff, you might have some problems, but I think at least visually, like, Raimi does a good job of making the world feel like the same thing, I think.
And if you disagree with Dad, remember, he has his own account. You can send messages there.
Yes, harass me.
Harass. Because I remember back in the olden days of comic news, people, like the few times we ever got any comments, it was always to Eric, and they sent them to me.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I would forget to even tell him about it.
All the angry people, like, Green Lantern does exist.
Yes, we totally got that. I think I sent one out of outrage. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this, at least in my area, it's still around. It's only been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, I'd have to say, as much as I enjoyed the movie, I don't think it's a movie that you need to rush out and see immediately. Now that it's
No, it's not, go see this now or the world will end. It's just if you happen to have either money for a matinee or see it in a red box or even on TV in a few years.
I was gonna say maybe rent it, but now I'm thinking like we talk so much about the visual. I mean, at least for me, the visual lore of the film. I don't know if that, especially that transition between regular aspect ratio and full widescreen, would be as effective on a small screen.
Totally. For a visual reason, you should. I don't know about full on 3D, though. To be fair, this movie at least tried to make attempts to have a reason to be in 3D, as opposed to when I went to see G.I. Joe 2, which you could plainly tell they had no plans. They don't do anything gimmicky at all. Oz had a few of those, like those weird plant things that they chopped at the screen.
Yeah, and when the monkeys fly at you, I imagine that must have been cool in 3D. I saw it in 2D.
Same here. I've only had to see a 3D movie twice in my lifetime. It's because my theater sucks. Well, no one's going to see this movie, so we're just going to screw over people who do want to see it and make them pay more.
Oh, that sucks.
Because that's why I had to see Dread and Fright Night, because there wasn't really a big buzz about either of those movies, so they were just going to put the 3D screenings out. Because those theaters have it. Like other theaters I know who only have 2D showed it in 2D, but I didn't live anywhere near those.
That doesn't make any sense to me. These movies aren't popular. Let's only give moviegoers the most expensive ticket available.
No, it doesn't, and they don't. And even the managers know that, but they can't do anything about it because they don't want to lose their damn jobs.
Oh, true, yeah.
It's something that the higher-up company has a goofy strategy on.
Oh, that sucks. Well,
but that's not even a part of the movie.
I don't know that I have anything else to say about this.
I think I'm out, too, on stuff.
I think it's a worthwhile film to watch. I don't agree. I saw some people saying that it was not worth watching, that it was, not really a good film. It's not the greatest, it's not the greatest film of all time or anything. It does have problems, like we had mentioned, but I think it's an entertaining enough film that you can sit down and watch it and have a good time.
Your kids will love this, especially the little girl who was sitting in front of me, who literally went, "Yeah!" when the wizard showed up. The whole I'm not joking. That was the best moment ever.
Yeah, if you're a Wizard of Oz fan, that, you're not so hardcore into it that, like, the little fan things that we had mentioned would, like, make you get all, worked up about it and raging and stuff. Then I think
it's not like trying to be hip and happening with the kids and having people talk on cell phones. It's very much in the period it was written in.
And I appreciate that completely.
Mm-hmm. Like, both, in the real world, of course, and very much in the, if not maybe written in the period, written like it's in a fantasy world where people have a different line of thinking.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing I wanted to mention, because I didn't know if you had gotten the same sort of inklings as I did. You know that engineer guy? He's the African-American guy with the...
Yeah, he's played by an actor I love named Bill Cobb.
Is he supposed to be the guy that builds the Tin Man?
I don't know. That's
because they made allusions to him building things, and I was like, oh, maybe that's the guy that builds the Tin Man, because he was the only one that wasn't really created in the film in any capacity.
Yeah, he was literally just there to be character actor playing a small part.
Yeah,
and was very obviously important to build a good chunk of the contraptions at the big climax of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know on that one. Now that you've said that, that's kind of in my head. I don't know enough to even say if that's a big contradiction or not. So
I didn't know if I was reaching or I had missed something, and they definitively put something in there that would say that he wasn't. But that's just what walking out of the film I was like, oh, maybe he's the guy that built the Tin Man eventually.
Mm-hmm, but he's. Or he was just, like, oh, this is an actor, appears in everything. Let's have him in our movie.
Yeah.
And have him do something fun and make him wear a goofy beard.
Yeah, his beard was awesome.
Well, all of those guys had awesome beards, but his was the greatest. You could tell he was the leader. So if it's even around at this point, like, I'm sure it's still around in some theaters. You could think about seeing it, but we won't be angry if you don't. This movie made money, so...
Yeah, So, yeah, I'm gonna come down on it with you. It's just an enjoyable movie, not one that you're gonna regret missing or anything. I don't think.
Not at all. So I'm done.
Me too.
Goodbye now. This will probably be months until you see another not comic news video from me. Well, I hope not, but I'm so tired and busy. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.